This was a really good day in the shop. We did not expect to get a break in the weather, but we did. We started out the day making snowballs and having a snowball fight with the neighbor just for fun. But the day quickly evolved into a productive work day. I got to do all the touch-ups, and I shared the technique I use for filling in paint chips, which is probably good information. We did some reinforcing with CA and some epoxy and fiberglass repair to the back of parts that needed some reinforcement. This is good information to share. We did a lot of block sanding. We ultimately got the whole part sanded out with 1200 grit paper, got it outside and got the two things we wanted to do. I got the first coat of touch-up paint on, went and saw what Karen was doing in the kitchen, came out, put the second coat on, and then got real hungry because I noticed some good food coming out of the oven soon. Anyway, it was a productive day. Now today we caught a major break. I was not even expecting this. It's a major thing. They were predicting big snow coming, and late at the end of the night when I checked the report to see if I'd be able to paint today or try to make a plan, they said possibly changing to rain. So I woke up in the morning, I set the alarm early, I get up in the morning, it's pouring rain. And the rain is melting some of the snow, and it's supposed to get sun come out this afternoon. So I'm going to try to prepare as if it's going to be a possibility. We'll be able to paint this afternoon, but if not, well, we'll just do other stuff down in the shop. But it's really nice to have caught a break for a change. And it's certainly so much better in every way than when they say possibility of rain and you wake up and it's 4 inches of snow in the driveway. We don't have to shovel rain. And I just wanted to give a shout out to my friend Ray Dory in Louisiana. I know he's had snow, and I know he doesn't have a snow blower or a snow shovel. Ray, this is what we deal with all winter long. Get used to it. But seriously, the South has had a really tough time, and all the windmills have frozen up now. Whoever expected that? Even I didn't expect that. But hey, I hope everything works out, guys. But we are having a crazy winter up here too. And this is how much of the snow, the rain has melted it. You can make snowballs, you can make snowmen. That's what it's like living in North Jersey over this winter. Now with all the rain, this is the first time in over a month, all the ice, I've actually seen one of the fish. But we're working around whatever God sends our way, and boy, we have gotten a few surprises over this winter. So I wonder if down in Louisiana, Ray, if snowblower sales are going through the roof. Oh my God. So as crazy as it is, we still try to get something done every day. We still try to make a plan for if we have good weather, if we have terrible weather, and unpredictable weather. In this winter, we've had them all. Last winter, restoring this bike was a lot more predictable. This winter, all bets are off. You never know what you're going to wake up to. But there's always one answer to life's problems. Just drink more coffee. And don't forget to feed the birds. And this way, for sure, you'll have a good life. So as we come down into the shop after a nice cup of coffee, I've got to try to evaluate how best to use this day that may clear up for painting. We're waiting for the decals from Australia, so every morning I have to do this like military operation. Where can we invade? I have the touch-up paint to remind me to just keep filling these little divots and things on this part. So I'm just assuming, given the fact of weather, I can work on some more of the touch-ups on this, try to get this finalized for the clear, and if, this is the big if it turns out to be a good painting afternoon, and again, we never know. This part we really can't touch until we get the decals. So we're basically down to this. Our wheel is upstairs drying by the big heating vent. And I guess today we'll concentrate on trying to get this part ready for the clear. So I've made a little plan of what I hope I can do. Now, these are the little spots that I've tried to fill with paint, like the touch-up paint with no thinner. Over the course of the last couple of days, I've been going about every couple hours and just putting a thin drop. So that this is hard paint now. It's not a big glob of uncured paint that when you sand it, it's just going to turn into jello. It's got to be cured paint. What's going to work to your advantage filling a chip like this is if for some reason you can do it once every 6 hours in a nice warm area outside, well, we put it up by the heating vent. Now we have this one that's up above, and you see it's still down below, so that's going to need some more work, or I'm going to have to fill it with clear. All the ones along the edge here they're pretty well filled. This one is going to need some more filling, and what I'm going to do is block sand this down very carefully until I can't see the crack. Now I've got it reinforced in the back on one of the previous videos. This part here, and I'm trying to show this all what we intend to do today, and this area which took the original hit when this bike fell. So what we basically have is a couple hours of block sanding and detailing, and then if that all works out that we don't need any more filling, then what I'll try to do is just roughly backmask this off and spray some red up here and spray some red down here, and then let that dry overnight, and let's hope that weather cooperates. Now you never know when the weather's going to cooperate around here. That's the problem. We are truly slaves to the weather. So mixing up our normal batch, I always have some laundry detergent. Just a couple drops, no special amount, Dawn, any kind of laundry detergent. And if the water's warm, to your advantage. And one thing always works to your advantage if you can get the part up off the ground. In fact, you see, I had this figured out the other day so that the part isn't doing that. It's not flopping around like a dead dog or something here. Let's see if we get that nice and solid. Of course, I want to work in this direction. Now, of course, what we're going to be using, this is a hard block. It's already got a piece of sandpaper on it, but that's not the sandpaper I want to use. That sticky back is only there to hold the sandpaper while we're doing it. I'm going to dig out some either 1000 or 1200. I want a fine grit because I want this to kind of blend in and blend in the area around it. Now, I did this by thinking the 2000 grit, unnecessary. It's just not going to it's going to take too long to grind the mountaintops down, and 1000 grit, when we're all done, we'll do the whole part with 1000 grit, but this will let us blend in very, very slowly and softly. And again, this block only has the sandpaper on it to hold that the paper in place. We're obviously not going to use that sandpaper, but you could substitute 1000 or 1500 depending on how that repair. And I've found the whole key to doing anything like this, any of these little touch-ups, is not to try to rush it through in 5 minutes. It takes time with these softer grits of paper, and there's just no way you're going to get away, and you're going to do it in 30 seconds. So we're just going to just carefully try to flatten that out, smooth it out with a hard block, not a soft block. Now, if you were sanding this with the ends of your fingertips, what you do is you make waves. This, by using a hard block to do touch-ups, it takes a little more time, but I can see we're already making good progress here. And one of the things I've been thinking about investing in for the future is a good camera that has a good macro lens that I could show this really up close. Right now that's not possible. This camera, the macro lens is not really good. For the future, things for the future. Okay, so now without a camera cut, I still need to go a little bit deeper, see? See, here's what's happening. I want to take the paper. Just once you see these little techniques, there's no secret to how to do this, but it is time consuming, and a lot of times you get frustrated and you just want to grab some 400 grit paper and get that thing grinding. Well, yeah, sometimes you just have to take your time, and this is one of the times. These are collector bike parts, and they're for a good friend of ours, so we want to have the best we possibly can. Now, without a camera cut, I want to show this. Let me do this. This is one of the things I like to do on my videos. You show these things. Let me just, it's a little awkward, but that is that one spot that had a deep chip in it, and there was really no way around it. Now, now that I have that, see, now I'll make the whole part is going to look like this at the end before I actually put the clear on. And of course, we're going to go over the decals. We got to be really careful going over the decals at some point in time. But that's a good example in real time of how to fix a little paint chip. Now, if we were not going to clear this, I'd use 2000 grit sandpaper. It would take a little longer, and then buff this out, and it would buff out. And it's in your advantage to let it dry a couple extra days. Don't do what I just did the day you paint it. Wait, the longer the better, and the more heat you can use the better. It's just always in your advantage. I don't know with this close-up if I'm going to be able to show this, but you can see what I've done, and it's not really a deep crack, but it is a crack. It's a spider webbing crack that I didn't notice the first time around here. Let me dry it up. So what I'm going to do is what I always do with this type of a thing. I'm going to put a little bit of CA on a Q-tip, just touch it. Capillary action will let it soak in. Wait for it to dry, block sand it out, and then when I do the red spray here, I'll just touch that up. I don't want to touch that up with a brush right now because we don't have a valley to fill. This is a flat, even surface right now. Okay, so what we're using is thin Brodax CA. I'm going to be very careful. Just put a tiny amount, the tiniest amount. It does not take much. As soon as I get that, in fact, I'll let that right out to the end. And keep the Q-tip moving. Do not let the Q-tip stop or you'll glue it to the part there. I already feel it getting sticky. We've got that part. There we go. Now, I'm going to give that a minute to dry and then come right back with the sanding block and get it flat. And that'll be ready for just one little spritz of touch-up. And if I'll look at this when I turn it around and maybe put a little reinforcement in the back. I don't know yet. I got to see how this is all going to play out. That might just be a crack in the clear. I don't know. When I do the final sand out, I'll make that decision. Now, all of this stuff is really just time consuming to do. You just really have to just be patient. The patience always pays off in the end. And the things to avoid that I found is let the paint dry, the longer the better. If it dries overnight, better than 1 hour. 2 days better than 1 day. Heating vent better than putting it in a refrigerator. Or if you use all these things to your favor, what it allows you to do is at some point in time, you can take a part, and then this is a good example of one, that's unobtainable at any price, and make it better than when the factory actually sold it to you. And now, if for some people, it's not, money is no object thing when you have a collector bike, but there's a pride, to me, there's a pride involved in this that I like to just know I can do it. And it allows me over the years that have gone by, I don't know, 25, 30 years, what it's allowed me to do, restoring these things, it's allowed me to bring parts back to life that would otherwise have been in a dumpster. Many for Mark Morgan and for Glenn and for Vince, for other people that those parts are, and Vlad, without even speaking, Vlad, holy mackerel. Vlad's whole collection of bikes. I think we've got some unobtainable stuff, and he loves collector bikes. Now, there we go, and I don't know how much more. I'm going to shut the camera off because this is just I'm going to be repeating what I just did about 12 times to get until that's totally flat. And if there's still a divot, then what's going to happen? It's pretty simple. I'm going to have to fill it with paint and wait for another day. But we'll see if I can get that down to where it's all flat. And you can see I've got a lot of work to do. Now the odds are good I'm going to break through, but it won't matter because I'm going to, when this is flat, I'm concerned with flat more than anything. I'm going to respray the top of this red, just almost like you would do it as a touch-up. Well, it is a touch-up, but because the paint is such a good match, I think it'll blend right in. But we have that to do. We have this one to do. These are all similar. We've got this may go beyond 1 day of work, but it's got to be, you've got to be patient, and this stuff just takes time. Now, in the course of doing this, I see that the crack in the back went right through the whole part. So what I'm going to do is put a little, I'm going to mix up some epoxy, some Brodax epoxy, make a patch there, pretty much exactly what we've done here. The same thing here. This is one of the things that I hope is going to prevent, and well, we use this. This is special e-glass tape that's made just for this kind of repair. Plenty strong. It'll be stronger than the part itself when we're done. And I always prefer using Brodax because I know they have a quick turnover, and when I buy stuff, it's fresh. I don't want stuff that's been sitting on the shelf for a long time. Stuff all has a shelf life. Now, some people may not know if when you're using epoxy in one of the ingredients, the resin itself turns to a crystal. In other words, it gets solid. You can just put the tube or the canister in some very warm water, boiling water, over 165 degrees. And what'll usually happen, not usually, it'll come back to a liquid. But that means that when you have to do that, that you've bought epoxy that's already been on the shelf just a little bit too long. It's like people say my shelf life is getting near the end. Maybe they're right, I don't know. Guess we're gonna find out. Anyway, all these little patches and things, these little detail things, you've got to treat, at least I do anyway, is I always treat a job like this as if time didn't matter. Because in the case of we're doing it with passion. If you're doing it for profit, yeah, I can't imagine if you ran a body shop, you couldn't do this quality of work, I don't think. Or you'd have to have Jay Leno for a client. Now, obviously that's not going to be our situation, although if Jay wants to send me some stuff and a blank check, start with that nice H2 that he has. The nice restored one. We could make a deal. Anyway, that's going to dry. I'll let that dry, go have another cup of coffee. Because we've got several repairs on this all drying at the same time. I want them, before I flip that over and do the rest of the sanding, I want that to be cured. Now I'm really down to where I just have the tiniest little divot and a little bit of place here that I've gotten through. But I have just a little more to do there. But if I get this as smooth as I can right now, it's that same thing, it's that foundation on the house. And if I'm patient, I'll get it, even if I go through, because this part of it will be touched up. The paint is not a problem. So ultimately, this took a lot of time to get this smooth, but right now I can run my hand on that. You cannot feel a single thing. It's like that doesn't exist. And now there's no Bondo. It's all CA and paint, which is what this is. So you would think we got a real good shot at getting that nice. Now, this is going to take time. This is going to be a time, because there's multiple curves. It's a different radius. See, now what I could do, if it was all one radius, I can use a tool like this, a sanding tool called a polywog or a tadpole. I could use these to my advantage. The problem is it's a diminishing radius. So I'm going to have to do it with a hard block and do it very, very carefully. This is going to take time. I've got the reinforcement done. So now always do the mechanical reinforcement first, the cosmetic sanding second. But I have a secret to share with everybody that's worth its weight in gold. Anytime you're doing a job like this that just starts consuming hour after hour, take a coffee break and put extra coffee in the coffee. And this is the best tip of all. You follow that tip and you will have perfect body work. Or you'll be hyper, one of the, or both. Pretty much nothing a good coffee break doesn't re-energize you, get you ready to do more of this work. But it did stop raining, and hopefully we may even get a little sunlight here, because my goal would be today, and by this time of the day, we're about halfway through a day, I try to figure out, the number one decision is, am I going to be able to paint or not? If not, then we do a new military plan. We don't invade Normandy, we invade Poland or whatever. But all these things, we try to use, one of the things I try to use is time efficiently. When I was working for Ford Motor Company, I had to be very efficient about scheduling jobs, because we scheduled about 450 jobs every time I pulled a shift. So being an efficiency expert is a little bit of a help here. Okay, so that one's pretty good. Now I'm just trying to, the biggest thing to get across to people, because I know there's people that like to be entertained, but I know there's people within my circle of friends that have a big chip in their motorcycle or the front of their Corvette or something, and they want to know how to fix it. And that's the big thing. Now, John Pothier has given me many good tips. His Corvette had some chips in it, and what he did at the very end, the last coat of paint he put the paint in the clear and blended it right in, and supposedly, went on to live forever like we all do. But anyway, but that is another good tip, and I've used that already. That is no way you can ever stop getting chips in bikes, especially if you do track days, but you can be good at fixing them. And one of the things that allows you to be good at fixing them is when you do the original paint, put an extra couple of coats of clear. Then you can grind away. Now see, this is factory paint. As soon as I hit a corner or an edge, I go right through, because they only have one coat of clear on this. So after a few hours of sanding, and this really did take time, I took a lot of patience with this, reinforced some of the parts on the back. This one, I don't want to go any deeper. I'm going to try to put extra clear up there when I can. This is just one of those things that's really tentative. This one has a reinforcement. The one down here came out real nice.
Chicken enchiladas.
This is for chicken enchiladas for tonight? And that's the chicken in there?
Yep.
Ooh, maybe I should get credit for this. I stirred it. Whoa.
There's more.
I'm getting hungry already. I'm working hard down there today. I need extra enchiladas.
And hot chilies.
Black beans and hot chili. I can taste it already. How do you expect me to work when the house smells like enchiladas? I got to stir it. This way I can take credit that I made it. How's that work? Wendy the chef.
Not really.
So now the labor-intensive part of this is I want to go start at one end, do the whole part, so the whole part has a scuff with 1200 sandpaper. And that will, then I'm going to backmask this little piece off, hope that the rain has stopped permanently, and then do this little touch-up. Now when I do the touch-up, because I'm using Joe's thinner, I'm going to make a separate batch of paint with a little less thinner. I don't want that thinner because it's high penetrating thinner. I know that. I don't want it going down. I'm going to try to do this without priming it because the primer will add another dimension of the color not matching perfectly. But if I can do this the way I want, again, the trick is going to be several thin coats. Not blow on a coat, several thin coats. So the idea is that ultimately the whole part will look like that. It'll be scuffed. You can't really paint over anything shiny. The paint will have a very good chance of not sticking if you paint over something shiny. Now this kind of work, it's better to show and fast forward. I'm sanding it out with 1200 paper. It's really not a total detail sanding. I just want to scuff it up so it is time to put the clear on, and we're not at that point today. But I do want everything scuffed. Now I'm going to have to backmask off that word super bite and the parts of this that don't have any repair. And again, this is the time when patience really pays. When you try to rush this through and try to get it done in a short amount of time, you really never get the kind of quality as when you have patience and you just take your time. Okay, one of the final steps here before we get this touch-up done. And hopefully that weather is going to hang in there. We're always slaves to the weather. This is just a degreaser prep wall, and we're going to, when we're done with this, take some clean paper towels. Of course, we'll use a tack rag at the very end. I got to backmask this middle section. See, this middle section doesn't need any touch-up at all. It's only up the top. So I can backmask off the parts of this that do not need any touch-up, carefully, of course. And, well, we're going to see if it's our lucky day. So far, the paint blend looks pretty decent, so I have high hopes that this is going to work, but I guess my choices are limited, that's for sure. Now I just checked the weather, and it looks like it's our lucky day. This will be a touch-up, and it'll be several thin coats. That's what the objective is, several thin coats. Hopefully we will not have to prime it and add that dimension of work to the project, because these are only little touch-up spots, not giant areas. So we're going to have these tonight. This is supper.
Not all of this.
What? I'm a hungry boy. I worked hard today. These really are delicious, boy. Karen really goes out of her way to fill me up. Fill me up, Buttercup here. That is good. I can smell it downstairs. So the weather looks good. The compressor's fired up. The food is in the pan, ready to be eaten. I'm getting hungry already. All of these little spots now, it's just going to be thin coats. We're going to really be delicate about this. And because the sun is out, that'll be in our advantage. So I put the rest of this in fast forward. Basically, we're going over each one of the areas that needs to be repaired, and with very light coats, and go back over and over a few times rather than try to blow on a wet coat. Now, as this was drying up, because the sun was out, it dried up beautifully in between coats. I couldn't believe that in the middle of the winter, on the day that started out rainy and crappy, it turned out to be a great day to paint. I was just shocked how good of a day this turned out to be. We took full advantage. Now what we're going to do is give this 10-15 minutes to dry, put a second coat on, and then put it aside to dry overnight. Although we really lucked out, the sun came out, making this a lot easier to spray. Now the gods were truly smiling upon us today. I'm shocked again as I'm editing this. What a great painting day this turned out to be. I would have never believed it in the morning. So this is now going to sit and dry out in the garage overnight. I'll bring it in tomorrow morning. We'll look at it, see if it needs any further work. And if tomorrow's like today, we'll be able to get some clear on it. So anyway, before I end the video, I want to thank the healthcare workers. Guys, thank you so much. And I can't tell you, my family has been safe. I hope your family's been safe. We're pretty much sequestered away from the real world. And to be honest, I'm looking forward to getting back in the real world. I don't know. I guess you are too. Anyway, I hope you did enjoy the video. Share some good information. I don't know that this kind of information is available anywhere else on YouTube. It probably is, but I haven't found it. But anyway, if you're looking to do one of these jobs, I'm sure it'll help. And thanks, guys. Thanks one and all so much for watching. Now we end every day, we always take a little pilgrimage over to the kids, to see the kids of course, and to see this puppy that's growing by the day. There you go. Now let me focus in. Hold him steady. Hold him steady.
That's the way.
Oh, what?
I'll get this one.
Oh, look, Grammy. Oh.
I was sending these.
Oh. Mean
baby.
dog.
Come here,
Mean
baby.
dog. Mean dog. Hey, you're biting me. Hey.
Hey, baby, don't bite.
Hey.
Don't bite.
Shark nose.
Don't bite.
Shark teeth.
Kisses. Kisses.
Oh, I knew it. I knew it. He's
Kisses.
playing a puppy card. Playing the puppy card. Oh my God. Playing the puppy card. Hey. Hey. Hey.
Look at those curls. Look at those curls.
Hey, number ultra pearl.
My ears! Ah! I'm being kissed by a dog! I'm being kissed by a dog!
See, look.
Phew! I'm getting kissed by a dog! Ah! 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 Now I do try to post up something motorcycle related every day. At the end of this video, and I'll explain this is a trip, a few pictures of many thousands that I shot in Russia. In 2012, Karen and I took a river cruise. This is one part of the trip. I'm editing down about 1,000 pictures to make a full-length video of our trip to Russia in 2012. But this is one of the most amazing things I have ever seen. If you're into unusual things, this is a church on the island of Kiji that's north of the Arctic Circle. There's only about 150 people live on this island, and all but a few leave for the winter. They get wintered in this house. Look at that house real close, because I'm going to take a picture inside. Now, while I was in Russia, I shot extensive amounts of pictures. I really have thousands, but I'm editing them down to make a full-length video. This is the island of Kiji. It's an absolutely amazing place. The natives that live there, again, they're there for 6 months of the year, but during the winter months they leave because of it's extremely cold. This is the inside of the house. And what they do is they draw lots. The animals live inside the house, all of the animals. In the winter, they get wintered in, and they draw lots every night to see who gets to sleep on top of the stove. That's right, on top of the stove. They sleep on top of the stove. So I found that amazing. But that wasn't half of it. We went to this wood church. This is an all-wood church made from local materials. There are no nails in this church. it's all made with interlocking wood joints. Look at how ornate this is. Now, I've done a lot of wood carving in my life. All my modeling friends know my skill level, but these people are at a much higher skill level. But that isn't even it. What they were doing was raising the church up. They had the whole wooden church that's built with no nails at all. They had the whole church jacked up on what looks like floor jacks. Look at the church. It's up. They're going to raise it, I don't know how many feet. This was an amazing, amazing thing. I thought I'd like to share this. And if you think you're interested, probably a month from now or sometime, I will have all those photos put together of our trip to Russia. It was a very, very informative thing, including bike night at Lenin's tomb. It was pretty unbelievable. Anyway, thank you, Karen, for the cooking today and for a wonderful trip and actually for a wonderful life. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and again, thanks so much for watching. So right at the end of this video, I wanted to put Karen, of course, makes these paintings, and there is a painting we made when we got back from the island of Fiji, and that's a picture of the church that Karen made, an oil painting. And all of these paintings, they have in some way reminders of the adventures we've had, and we hope you enjoy sharing them too. But that church in Fiji that they were raising up, and to this day I remember and thinking many times, amazing. And sleeping on top of the stove is pretty amazing too. So I hope you enjoyed the video again, and thanks for watching.